Hi everybody and welcome to a new Dust 1947 battle report. Today we'll be playing a special scenario called Crate Race. In this scenario there are 5 objectives, obviously crates, which if claimed will award you points each turn. In order to capture an objective you must have a unit within 10 centimeters of it and there must be no enemy units within 10 centimeters. Decide which has the most points after 5 full turns wins the game. And here is an overview of the battlefield all set up. The southwest objective is worth 1 point and is located in one of the ruined buildings. The northwest objective is also worth 1 point and sits right on the west road, in the open but surrounded with terrain. The central objective is worth 2 points and is in the dead center of the board. The southeast objective is another 1 point objective and is located in the east road. Lastly, the northeast objective lies perfectly fine behind some trees and is also worth 1 point. So let's have a look at the armies. The Allies bring along 9 units in their 90 action points force. Leading the force is a Ranger command squad. With a plethora of command abilities as well as a machine gun, they can either sit back and perform special actions such as reactivations or repairs, or advance up the field and shoot down enemy infantry. Next up is a Ranger assault squad, which are mainly a close quarters unit with shotguns, demo charges and a flamethrower. The Ranger Combat Squad can go tank hunting with their bazooka and underbarrel grenade launchers, but their long-range rifles could also prove effective for guarding objectives further back whilst adding suppressive fire. The Allies also have a hero, Johnny One-Eye, who can soak up wounds and enhance a friendly unit's shooting capabilities. The last infantry unit is a Ranger Sniper team with an infantry and cover save ignoring sniper rifle. 2 M3 medium combat walkers, a steel rain and a pounder add some armored punch to the force. Between them, they have a wide range of interesting weapon options tailored to specific roles as well as a bunch of heavy machine guns. And then we have an M1 light walker, the Black Hawk. This fast-moving but lightly armored anti-tank walker carries a short-range heavy Piet weapon system capable of wrecking an Axis Ludwig with a single shot. And the Allies' biggest machine is a powerful M5 heavy destroyer walker with a mathematically logical name, the 6-shooter. This beast can take a lot of damage before going down and can dish out severe hurt in return with its 3 machine guns and a dual triple recoilless guns. And so, let's have a look at the Axis force as well. The Axis 90 action points force consists of 9 units in total. A heavy grenadier command squad leads the Axis troops. Although lacking in speed, they make up for that with their heavy weapons and, more importantly, damage-resilient armor. Eliminating this command unit is not going to be easy. Stefan is a Sturm Grenadier hero wielding a flamethrower. His special rules allow him and his unit to make an extra move action after a march move, which sounds perfect for objective grabbing. 2 regular Sturm Grenadier assault squads make up the infantry corps. They carry an okay loadout of weapons, but their main role will be to scoot up the field and claim objectives. Two zombie squads have also made their way into the force. Now, since zombies are quite slow and cannot capture objectives themselves, I imagine this choice turning a few heads. However, their low cost and natural imperviousness to enemy fire could potentially make them great units for contesting enemy held objectives. The Walker detachment is made up of medium Panzer Kampfläufers, 1 Jagdluther and 2 Ludwigs. All come equipped with a superb primary weapon, dual long-ranged anti-tank guns, as well as a secondary weapon, a machine gun. Their job will be to support the infantry advance and take out enemy armor from afar. It's a rather unorthodox army composition, but hopefully it will do fine in this battle. At the start of turn 1, the Axis won initiative and let the Allies move out first. They activated their camouflaged sniper team and had them move out behind some tank traps. The Axis then brought one of their zombie units onto the board and march moved them up into one of the ruined buildings on the west flank out of enemy line of sight. The Assault Rangers then entered the battlefield on the opposite side of the zombies and march moved up to claim the southwest objective. Since this mission is all about catching crates, the Allies saw no gain in hanging back. The second zombie squad then moved up the board beside their reanimated comrades and positioned themselves behind some tank traps, creating quite a zombie horde in the northwest corner. Acknowledging the zombies as a threat, the pounder stomped onto the board and placed itself behind some cover before drawing a clear line of sight across the road towards one of the zombie squads. Despite firing both its machine gun and anti-tank gun, the few shots that hit didn't manage to fell a single enemy soldier. One of the Ludwigs then moved up just behind the screen of zombies, moving carefully as to not accidentally step on the cannon fodder unit, and placed itself behind some ruins. Then it decided to engage the Pounder in the classic Dust long-range walker duel. One shot hit home, but since the Pounder managed a cover save roll, it only suffered an under-fire token. Leaving the west flank for now, the Ranger combat squad entered the board on the east flank and March moved up to claim the southeast objective, meaning the Allies were now in possession of 2 objectives already. This instilled a sense of urge in the Axis commander, who ordered a unit of Sturm Grenadiers to move up and claim the northeast objective. The unit leader told his squad to stay behind cover and guard the crates with their lives if necessary. Next, the Steel Rain moved onto the board in the southeast corner in support of the combat rangers. Even though it moved up a bit, its mortar was still out of range of any enemy units. That, however, didn't stop it from firing its hull-mounted machine gun at the Sturm Grenadiers. The barrage killed 1 grenadier and put an under-fire token on them. The Jagluther decided to help out the Sturm Grenadiers, and after cleverly moving up using the lone tree in front of it as cover, it leveled its dual anti-tank guns at the Steel Rain. One of its 2 heavy caliber rounds hit home, and as the Steel Rain failed its cover save, it took 5 points of damage, bringing it very close to destruction. The Ranger command squad with attached hero Johnny One-Eye moved up behind the heavily damaged Steel Rain, and the mechanic then set to work. He managed to tend to the walker well enough in order for it to regain 2 points of damage. And speaking of command squads, the heavy grenadiers activated and moved up behind some cover. The officer then used a "get moving you bunch of monkeys" action on the Jagluther, but the reactivation attempt failed. The 6-shooter then moved up next to the command squad, creating a proper stronghold for the Allies in the southeast corner. It decided to split its fire, with the 1 machine gun being in range of the Sturm Grenadiers, firing at them, whilst the dual triple recoilless guns zeroed in on the Jagluther. The machine gunner was obviously a bit too eager to aim properly, but the salvo from its main weapon succeeded in causing 4 points of damage on the Axis walker. The second Ludwig moved onto the field, placing itself behind the first one, and, just like its brother, it fired at the Pounder in the distance. It managed a perfect 2 hits, and, as the Pounder could save only 1 shot, it took 4 points of damage and went from under fire to suppressed. With the 2 Ludwigs being busy pounding the Pounder, the Allied Blackhawk hurried onto the table and March moved 60 centimeters up the field. Being a fragile walker, they had decided to save it for last in order to spare it from enemy fire. Stefan and his squad of Sturm Grenadiers then moved up in the middle of the board, and his special rule enabled them to move again, meaning they were able to claim the central objective already on the first turn. With that, the first turn came to an end. It's difficult to say if one side has any clear advantage over the other at this point, but it looks as the Ludwigs and the zombies will be able to clear the west part of the battlefield of Allied forces. On the other side, however, the 6-shooter and the Ranger command squad look to be in a strong position to overwhelm their opposition, so perhaps the battle will swing over to a west side versus east side story in coming turns. The northwest objective is uncaptured at this point, but one of the Ludwigs will surely change that fact soon. The southwest objective is held by the Assault Rangers, scoring 1 point for the Allies. Stefan's quick movement means the Axis receive 2 points for the central objective. The Ranger Combat Squad holds the southeast objective, giving the Allies 1 more point, and the Sturm Grenadier Assault Squad is holding on to the northeast objective, which means another point for the Axis. Thus, the Axis are in the lead after the first turn with 3 points against 2 for the Allies. Turn 2 began with the Axis winning initiative, and they quickly activated one of their Ludwigs. 2 solid blasts from its dual anti-tank gun hit home, thanks to a reroll from sustained fire, and blew the Pounder apart. The Allies realized they were losing the west flank, but they were not going to give up without a fight. Thus, the Blackhawk moved across the road to get within range of the Ludwigs. It decided to target the Ludwig which hadn't shot yet, reasoning that even though that particular Ludwig was behind cover, it would disrupt the Axis firepower the most. The cover didn't save it from the 3 heavy shells, and it was reduced to pieces of broken metal in a heartbeat. Continuing the theme of activating walkers, the Axis now issued an order to the Jagluther to move out. It didn't succeed in removing its under-fire token, but it advanced nonetheless. The move meant it now had clear line of sight to the Ranger Combat Squad with its machine gun, and just like last turn, it fired its main weapon against the newly repaired Steel Rain. Thanks to good cover save rolls, the Rangers only lost a single model. The Steel Rain, on the other hand, didn't fare as well with its rolls, and with that, the Allies lost their second M3 medium combat walker. Enraged by the destruction of his walker brother, the 6-shooter reloaded and split his fire, with a machine gun targeting the Sturm Grenadier Assault Squad by the northeast objective and the dual triple recoilless guns going into the Jagluther. The machine gun hit 3 times, which brought down another one of the Sturm Grenadiers, as well as suppressing the unit. The recoilless guns then opened up, and they absolutely annihilated the Axis walker. 4 activations so far this turn had now resulted in 4 demolished walkers. The Axis decided to activate their Heavy Grenadier command squad and had them move up across the road towards a ruined building. The officer realized his precious Kampfläufer walkers were being destroyed, and so tried a "get moving you bunch of monkeys" on the single Ludwig still standing in order for it to fire and hopefully destroy the Blackhawk, but the attempt failed. The Ranger command squad realized that there was nothing left to repair, and so instead moved further up the field. The officer shouted fire orders at his unit, and Johnny One-Eye used his special rule Fighting Spirit to further boost their efforts. Johnny fired first and, thanks to his special rules, absolutely emptied his entire magazine and single-handedly produced a ridiculous 11 hits. The command unit themselves then opened up with their automatic rifles and machine gun and scored 8 hits. The overwhelmed Sturm Grenadiers were riddled with bullets and, to no one's surprise, slaughtered. Back on the west side, the zombie unit behind the tank rats activated and continued march moving forward. They entered a ruined building, readying themselves to possibly assault the Assault Rangers next turn. The Ranger Combat Squad then saw an opportunity to claim the northeast objective previously held by the now destroyed unit of Sturm Grenadiers. They successfully removed their under fire token and then march moved along the road, reaching the objective. The Allies had now stolen these crates away from the Axis forces. Next up, the second zombie squad hurried, or rather shambled, forwards as fast as their reanimated legs would allow in order to put some pressure on the Blackhawk up close. As the Ranger Combat Squad had moved away from their position, the sniper team was tasked with moving up and reclaiming the southeast objective, once again securing it for the Allies. They also couldn't resist firing a potshot at the Heavy Grenadier command squad, but unfortunately, they missed. Stefan and his Sturm Grenadiers were at the moment happy to remain on capture duty, and they still held the central objective and so decided to simply perform nothing actions. Likewise, the Ranger Assault Squad was too far away to target anything with their short-ranged weapons and so stayed put. After all, they were still capturing an objective. That meant the end of turn 2, which had seen several units destroyed. The Allies have managed to capture both objectives on the east flank, but there is still bitter fighting taking place in the west. Especially the Blackhawk needs to be dealt with soon. Perhaps the zombies might be up for the task. The Axis also need to get troops onto more objectives, as the 6th shooter and the command squad are likely to swing around and start putting pressure on Stefan and the Sturm Grenadiers in the middle soon. Since the second Ludwig was destroyed before it could activate, the northwest objective remains uncaptured. The southwest objective is, just like last turn, secured by the Assault Rangers. In similar fashion, Stefan and his unit have remained stationary beside the central objective. The southeast objective is now held by the sniper team, which adds another point for the Allies. Lastly, the northeast objective has changed hands, and the Rangers now secure it for the Allies. This means 3 points for the Allies and 2 for the Axis, which currently results in a tied game. Turn 3 began with the Allies winning the critical roll-up for initiative, which meant they had time to activate the deadly but fragile Blackhawk before it could be targeted. It performed a reload action and then adjusted its aim slightly to the left in order to target the Ludwig. 2 of the 3 shots hit, which was enough to destroy the Ludwig twice over. The Blackhawk, feeling satisfied, paused for a moment and radioed in his second confirmed downed Ludwig of the day. That pause, however, gave the zombie squad close by enough time to activate their panzer gloves and charge straight into the allied walker. The surprised Blackhawk pilot, who thought he had cleared the area of enemy forces, was caught off guard and found himself and his machine smashed to pieces by the crazed zombies. The sniper team then decided to activate, and as the spotter relayed critical information about elevation, wind and other factors over to his teammate, the sniper carefully leveled his rifle and fired. The infantry and cover save ignoring shot hit, and as the Axis failed the Heavy Grenadiers' damage resilience roll 2, the officer was taken out of action. The surprised Heavy Grenadier command squad was forced to activate in order not to take any further damage from afar. The 2 survivors were able to drag the unconscious commander into the cover of the ruins, and the medic succeeded in getting him back on his feet. The Ranger Combat Squad, still sitting on a northeast objective, decided to stay put and sustain fire their automatic rifles against Stefan and his Sturm Grenadier unit in the middle of the board. Despite only being able to muster 6 shots, the Rangers still caused 3 wounds on Stefan, but the Axis hero was at least able to prevent his squad from losing models. Stefan realized that they were sitting ducks in their current position, and so, after clearing their under fire token, they moved in a southwest direction in order to threaten the Ranger Assault Squad. They fired their assault rifles and were impressively able to hit 7 times. The Rangers could, however, claim cover since they were behind crates and the Sturm Grenadiers were firing through some ruins. Still though, 3 of the squad members were killed. The Allies chose to activate their command squad next. They had been very successful last turn with their shooting and they were now hungry for more action. Thus, they quickly moved up behind some trees and prepared their weapons for firing next turn. As the Sturm Grenadiers had reduced the numbers of the Assault Rangers down to just 2 troopers, the second zombie squad then activated and moved up and finally got close enough to contest the southwest objective. The Ranger Assault Squad tried to repel the oncoming zombies. The flamethrower and shotgun excel at killing infantry up close, and they actually were able to destroy the entire Axis unit. They had now cleared the area and was heroically still holding on to their objective. The last unit to activate was the 6-shooter. It moved westwards and prepared to lay down suppressive fire. One of its machine guns and the dual triple recoilless guns were in range of Stefan and his unit of Sturm Grenadiers, and so it opened fire at them. The weapons combined for a total of 17 shots using the main weapon's salvo special rule, but unfortunately only a single Sturm Grenadier fell after cover saves had been made. At the end of turn 3, the Ludwig Graveyard serves as the perfect symbol for the collapse of the Axis army. Even though the zombies have managed to destroy the annoying Blackhawk, it had probably been a little too late. The fact that the Ranger Assault Squad was still alive and very much kicking was another thorn in the Axis forces' side. The Allies are in complete control of the east side of the battlefield, and they have started to push back Stefan and the remaining Axis troops further back. The Axis would surely need some sort of miracle to turn this around. The northwest objective still remains uncaptured. The brave Ranger Assault Squad is holding on to the southwest objective, scoring 1 point for the Allies. Stefan and the Sturm Grenadiers are just within 10 centimeters of the crates and so secure 2 points for the Axis for the 3rd consecutive turn. The sniper team holds on to the southeast objective for another point for the Allies, and the Ranger Combat Squad secures the northeast objective for a 3rd point. That means 3 against 2 this turn in the favor of the Allies, and they are now taking the lead in this close-fought affair. The 4th and penultimate turn of the game began with the Axis side winning priority. Afraid of the triple machine guns of the 6-shooter, Stefan ordered his Sturm Grenadiers to move further southwest. They cleared their under fire token and then moved closer to the Ranger Assault Squad, who failed their reactive attack attempt. The Sturm Grenadiers were thus free to fire and they managed to wipe out the Ranger Squad. The Allies turned to the sole surviving Walker unit left in the field, the 6-shooter, and had it move further to the west. That move was enough to get it within 60 centimeters of Stefan and his squad, who had tried but apparently not succeeded in putting enough distance between themselves and the Heavy Walker's machine gun. The crew member looking up from the top hatch could clearly see the intended target and so issued the order to fire. After the dust had settled, 2 more of the Axis troopers had been killed by the harassing fire. The zombie squad was now completely out of position by this point, and so they moved eastward in an attempt to eventually get back into the action. Since the central objective was now cleared of enemy troops, the Ranger Combat Squad decided to risk a daring march move towards it. The move saw them reaching the crates, and the Allies were now, for the first time in this game, capturing the most valuable of objectives. Even though his forces were crumbling around him, the Axis officer ordered his command squad of heavy grenadiers to take up firing positions in the ruins in a last-effort attempt to blast away the combat rangers from their newly claimed objective. 2 sets of dual machine guns opened up, and the mechanic used his salvo rule for his rocket launcher. That combined for a total of 32 shots, but the Axis only managed 8 hits. After a spectacular cover save roll by the Allied player, the absolute hurricane of bullets only caused 1 measly casualty. The sniper team then activated and repeated the procedure from last turn. The spotter conveyed necessary information to the sniper, who pulled the trigger. Thanks to sustained fire, he managed to hit, and this time the heavy grenadier medic took a bullet to the head. The Axis were now out of units to activate, and so the Allies got to go again. The command squad moved north to claim the objective the Ranger Combat Squad had recently left, and then leveled their weapons at the Axis command unit. The heavy grenadiers' infantry value of 3 meant fewer shots this time around though, and despite scoring a few hits, the cover and the damage resilience of the armor kept the Axis free from harm. And with that, turn 4 was over. Things were looking quite bad for the Axis. They were pushed back and the Allies claimed yet more objectives, and they stood little to no chance of taking out the 6-shooter, which was running wild at this point. The loss of all Walker units was causing a proper headache for the Axis, and their one remaining zombie squad was far away from the battle. Thus, it will be very difficult to catch up on victory points. The Allies, on the other hand, have enough units to both capture objectives and lay down fire upon the Axis positions. Of course, the northwest objective was still uncaptured, no surprise there. The southwest objective though has now been claimed by Stefan and his unit, giving the Axis 1 point. The central objective had shifted hands and the Ranger combat squad now secures it for the allies for 2 points. The southeast objective was still safely in allied hands, awarding them 1 point, and the command squad has now captured the northeast objective for yet another point, meaning the score this turn was 4 for the allies and 1 for the Axis. We head into turn 5 with the allies firmly in control of this battle. The Allies won the initiative role and kicked things off with activating the 6-shooter. The heavy destroyer walker slowly continued its advance towards Stefan and his Sturm Grenadiers with machine guns blazing. Despite poor dice rolls, it still managed to pick up the last 2 remaining Sturm Grenadiers with its heavy machine guns. Realizing they needed some sort of miracle to win at this point, the Axis activated Stefan. After rolling away his under fire token, he then dared a march move back towards the central objective. He was now obscured from incoming fire and could perhaps cause some havoc with his flamethrower if reactivated later on. Once again, the sniper team took aim across the battlefield and fired at the heavy grenadier command squad in the ruins. The shot hit home, but the Axis player passed the damage resilience roll, and so the unit didn't take any damage this time around. The Axis commander, feeling thankful for his heavy suit of armor, was able to downgrade the suppression, vitally giving them 2 actions. That allowed them to withdraw from the ruins, claiming the northwest objective, and then try a get moving you bunch of monkeys action on Stefan. The action succeeded, which meant Stefan was able to activate again. He turned a corner of the crates with his flamethrower ready, but before he could fire, the Rangers performed a successful reactive attack, meaning they could open fire at the surprised and badly injured Axis lieutenant. A few well-placed automatic rifle bursts later, Stefan was gunned down point blank. With that, the Axis' final sneaky attempt to recapture the objective had failed. Next up, the Ranger command squad activated, and since they were out of range and line of sight of any potential targets, they simply consolidated their positions a bit on the objective. The zombie squad then moved towards the central objective and came close enough to at least contest it, denying the allies 2 points. And as the Ranger combat squad had already activated, that was the last move of the game. The battlefield was by now filled with smoke from destroyed walkers, and dead bodies from both sides scattered the entire ground, and the defeated Axis had no choice but to retreat and leave space for the surviving and victorious allied forces. The northwest objective is finally captured by the heavy grenadier command squad, giving the Axis 1 point. The southwest objective is uncaptured, since nothing is even alive in that area anymore. The central objective is contested, meaning no points for either side. The sniper team still sits comfortably on the southeast objective, which awards the allies 1 point. And finally, the Ranger command squad secures the northeast objective for another point for the allies. This results in a final score of 14-9 in the allies' favor, which means the Rangers have managed to carry the allies to victory over the Axis. After such a defeat, the Axis commander will surely blame the zombies for the loss back at HQ. Johnny and the command squad, on the other hand, will return to base with at least 1 functioning walker and a few Ranger troops. The heavy grenadier command squad didn't accomplish very much this game. They were unlucky with their reactivation rolls, and their fire was largely ineffective too. The harassing Ranger sniper team in particular made it difficult for them to be used effectively. Stefan performed quite well, even though it would have been nice to see him burn down the Ranger combat squad in the end. He did, however, thanks to his quick movement, manage to capture the central objective early in the game and hold on to it for quite some time. The Sturm Grenadiers on the west side assisted Stefan well and were also able to kill the Ranger assault squad, but the unit stationed on the east flank unfortunately melted away under the heavy fire way too early. The 2 zombie squads did not turn out to be effective objective blockers and were in most cases too slow to even get into proper positions. They are cheap and resilient, and 1 squad did manage to finish off the Blackhawk, but as a whole they did not live up to expectations. The Panzerkampfläufers had mixed success. The Ludwigs won their long-ranged firefight against the Pounder, which initially opened up the west flank, but were then both bested by the Blackhawk. The Jugluther destroyed the Steel Rain, but was no match against the 6-shooter, and so couldn't put much pressure on the southeast objective before being taken out of action completely. All in all, the force should probably have stayed together better in order to secure objectives on one flank, and perhaps sent in the zombie squads on the other flank to disrupt the allies. Simply not good enough tactics with the units at hand. For the allies, Johnny One-Eye and the command squad did not, as perhaps were expected, stay back and use officer special actions to support the frontline troops, but were rather used as an objective-grabbing fire support squad. They truly showed that command units can be used in various ways and still be effective. The Ranger Assault Squad stubbornly defended the objective in the southwest corner against the Axis forces and held on to the crates long enough to receive post-mortem battle honors. And at the end of the battle, the Ranger Combat Squad had in total visited and captured 3 different objectives during the different stages of the battle. They had definitely been successful in the role as objective grabbers and had also contributed to the firefight by putting 3 wounds on Stefan. The Ranger Sniper team secured a steady stream of victory points and were also able to disrupt the enemy command unit with their deadly sniper rifle on several occasions. A cheap and definitely interesting unit. The M3 medium combat workers hardly had enough time to lay down any fire on their own before they were both destroyed in turn 2. At least they drew some fire away from other units, but unfortunately that's pretty much all they accomplished this battle. The 6-shooter, on the contrary, performed very well. The dual triple recoilless guns brought down the Jugluther, helping the allies to quickly secure the entire eastern flank, and its triple machine guns proved to be highly effective in killing and forcing back enemy infantry, an excellent and reliable powerhouse for the allies. Unit of the game, however, probably goes to the Blackhawk. Even though it was destroyed by Panzer Glove-wielding zombies, it destroyed both enemy Ludwigs first. The Ludwigs could otherwise have captured the northwest objective already on turn 2 and then proceeded to destroy the Assault Rangers. A very good job by the Allies' force indeed. Thank you so much for viewing. Please leave a like and or a comment if you enjoyed the video and stay tuned for more battle reports. A massive cheers from Sweden. Bye!